Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast and Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, a Knife Junkie Zippo. We give away an unclaimed giveaway knife, and Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives will be here. We're going to talk about the new Scuffle knife that, well, spoiler alert, I've been carrying quite a bit, and we're going to talk to him about the collaboration with Nick Rogers of Niche Designs. How you guys doing tonight? That'll be coming up in a little while. First, we'll get a little what do you call it? Housekeeping out of the way. Carino one, good to have you here, sir. Good evening, Jim, Bob, and fellow junkies. Looking forward to the Scuffle. Yeah, knuckle up and protect your grill, homie. Marco says, evening, Bob, Jim, and junkies. Well, good evening to you, Marco. Hope you're doing well. Doug, pleasure to have Doug with us. Bob, Jim, and everyone here. Evening, he says. Good evening to you. Dave of OG Blade Reviews. To whom we have to thank for this giveaway knife tonight. Just hashtag knife if you want this concept KTC3. I'm here and ready to scuffle, Junkalos. I would not scuffle with OG Blade Reviews, by the way. Dave knows what he's doing in a scuffle. James Hart, nice to have you here, sir. Hello, he says. James is also in good shape. Look at him riding that recumbent. I saw someone riding a recumbent just the other day right here in Northern Virginia, and I saw a woman on this crazy looking thing. It was like a stand-up, I don't know what the hell it was, but it was crazy. Steve-O Taylor, good day from Australia. Steve-O, good to have you here, man. It's a pleasure. I know you've been here before, but it's been a while, so it's good to have you back. Matt Lamana, nice to have you here, Matt. Happy Thursday Night Knives, Bob, Jimmy Notes, and Junkies all. Been a tough week, so I'm content not to have to ponder an engaging opening question. Awesome, man. I'm not awesome that anyway, and tonight sounds like a juicy one. Buckle up and let her rip. Hey, Matt, I'm sorry you had a rough week. It's been going around, let's put it that way, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad it's Thursday, and it is the start of the weekend. Cheers. An American Father, nice to have you with us, sir. Good evening, friends, he says. Good evening to you, friend. Always nice to have you here. Angry Tom's Hat Next Door. He is our one gentleman junkie that's a member here on YouTube. That's a new thing. If you want to be a member / gentleman junkie and want to do it here, go for it. Click the join button right down here. Angry Tom's Hat Next Door says, good evening, Bob, Jim, and junkies. Today is my birthday, and I finally got a little Tommy time. Happy birthday, my man. Very nice to hear that it's your birthday. Salud. What is today? Today is the 2nd of October. So that makes you a Libra, I believe. Great to have. Sean Clark. Anyway, happy birthday, Angry Tom. And don't be angry tonight. Just be Tom's Hat Next Door. Sean Clark, nice to have you here, Sean. He says, became a YouTube member. That is awesome. So now we have 2. That's 4. Now we have 2. Sean Clark, great to have you. And that little symbol next to your name also means that you are a Gentleman Junkie member here. So Sean, thank you very much, man. I greatly appreciate it. I have to send you and Angry Tom stickers and coasters. So both of you, Angry Tom and Sean Clark, there's a system set up on Patreon, but I haven't worked out this system on YouTube yet. So please do send me your address to TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com, and let me get the stickers and coaster out to you. Just so you can put your drinks down without being a barbarian. Craig Vincent, nice to have you here, Craig. He says, happy Thursday, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Thank you, sir. It's good to have you here. Jason Small says, yo, Jason, you sent me 2 awesome emails that I saw today. I didn't have time to respond to them, but I will on the morrow. You sent me a collection picture that I just drooled over everything you've got. Some of the stuff I have, some of it's aspirational for me. So nicely done, Jason. And thank you for getting in touch with me. I really appreciate your email. And one will be coming back to you tomorrow. Doug Bowl. Oh my gosh, Doug. A $10 super chat. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much. I'm gonna salute you with the knife I have out on the mat right now. Might not be the biggest, but it is one of the sweetest. And I have to say, my very first custom knife ever. This is the Medium Fighter by Attention to Detail Mercantile. Douglas Esposito used to live in my neck of the woods. Now he's in Mississippi, I believe. but making beautiful folders these days. And I think he's still doing some sort of kind of production-y fixed blades, but this is when he was only doing fixed blades. And he did this gorgeous medium fighter. I ordered one from him, an S35VN with tortoiseshell. I'm a huge sucker for tortoiseshell. We have Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives coming on later. I would love to see him do something in tortoiseshell with a black blade. I'm just saying. But anyway, obviously it's not real tortoiseshell. Those days, unfortunately, are gone. No, I'm just kidding. I like tortoises. I'll do with the synthetic model, but this beauty, crown spine, double edge. I picked this up from his shop. He used to have his shop in the back of his jiu-jitsu studio. He's a former Marine and jiu-jitsu black belt who used to teach. I picked this knife up from him. He was like, "Are you sure you want it double-edged?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sure." And he double-edged it for me right then. He left the swedge unsharpened just in case. And this is one of my all-time favorites, and it just doesn't get that much press from me these days. Double or quad hollow grinds on this sucker. Doug, thank you so much for that super chat. I really appreciate it. Here's to you, sir. And here's your swim by. Look at that. As this swims by, I just saw the Jump the Shark scene from Happy Days. Last night, it just randomly popped up into my feed, and I had to watch it. Yeah, it was cheesy. It really was cheesy. Split and Slices, nice to have you here, Byron. Howdy, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Thursday Night Knives. Too many great drops this past month, and more to come. Oh man, if you're chasing drops, that's an exhausting lifestyle. I have not for a little while sort of tapered off, and now I'm just kind of in this mode where I'm just getting knives that really appeal. For a while, most of my life, everything was appealing. And now I'm trying to save my shekels a little for the more special pieces. Terminator Joe, nice to have you here, Terminator Joe. I don't know why I feel moved to pull this out to Terminator Joe, but I know he loves the huge cold steels. Good evening, he says, fellow junkies. Good evening to you, sir. Hope you're doing great. Angry Tom's Hat Next Door says, I have to have a Zippo. Perfect segue. Here's mine. This is the TheKnifeJunkie Zippo. I just on a lark ordered 6 of them. 2 of them are now gone. One bought by a gentleman junkie, and one of them going to Jim. This is mine. I put a double jet insert in there. Probably can't see it under the light, but you can just buy these Zippo inserts for butane, and it's good for cigar smoking. When I was in high school, I hope mom and dad aren't watching. I'm sure they're not. But when I was in high school, I may have dabbled here and there with a Marlboro Red, and I just liked having a lighter and lighting up a cigarette with it. I wasn't so keen on the cigarette part, but I was on the lighter. And I used the regular Zippo fluid for that, but for a cigar, I like to keep it clean, so I have the butane. This does not come with the butane. All you got to do is let me know. Just email me, theknifejunkie@gmail.com. And since I only have 4 of them left, that's how we'll do it for right now. And then we'll do a PayPal situation, and I'll send it to you. If you want, I guess I could load it up with fuel. I'm sure that's not legal for me to do and to send, but what's a little Zippo fluid between friends? So Angry Tom, send me an email, and we'll work this out. It'll be real quick, real easy. And by the way, the double jets, I bought a special double jet for this one. My other I have plenty of other Zippos, but my other cigar Zippo has a single jet. This double jet is awesome. I highly recommend it. Ben Odie, nice to have you here, Benedict. He says, good evening, all junkies. Good evening to you, sir. Hope you're doing as well as we all are. Jason says, all the Randall talk I did last week made Bob bust out his Randall number 2. I have my Randall 16-7 SP number 1 out here tonight, and I'll show that to you since we're talking about it. Adrian Fighter 35, nice to have you here, and hopefully your better half is also here. So good evening to the both of you. He says, good evening, Bob, Jim, and fellow junkies. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm ready for another great Thursday Night Knives. All right, are you ready for this? Are you ready to talk with Ben? Guys, get your questions ready. Ben's going to be on here. Always fun to have him here. Sean says, good evening, Bob, Jim, and junkies. Hope your week was good. My week was mixed with a chance of meatballs, but that'll be the good part when the meatballs come. This is the special fighter number 16 with the handle, 16 handle, and the number 1 blade. Of course, double-edged, or at least double-edged to here. Hero Sticks, nice to have you here, Hero. Evening and cheers, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Good to have you here, Hero. As always, I've experienced some of the coolest knives that I don't have from these care packages Hero has sent me in the past. Craig Vincent says, I'd much rather have a Scuffle than get into one. Yeah, no doubt, man. You never know. You never know when you're going to land the perfect shot and then they fall, crack open their head. You go to jail forever. Douglas Wagner, nice to have you here, man. Hi, all, he says. Well, hello to you. I hope you're doing well, man. Lone Star Dowboy says, just blasted in from taking my wife to the airport. Lone Star, hope it's all for a good trip, maybe a girl's trip or something. I will not divulge if I was speeding to get there in time, to get here in time. Hopefully not. Well, maybe so. I know in other countries the speeding laws are a little more lax, so it's all good. And I hope she has a safe flight. Ryan Lynch, nice to have you here, Ryan. Good evening, all. Excited to hear about the Scuffle. Been a lot of hype in the community. It's not just hype, I'll have you know. I've been carrying mine somewhat obsessively since I got it. I really love it. You know, I'm a clip point fan, but also this knife, I also like Nick Rogers and I love Ben Belkin, but this knife is also way in my wheelhouse. It's like, it's a perfect knife, guys. It's an awesome knife. Ken Hack, nice to have you here, Ken. Good evening, everyone. I'm here for the Scuffle. Wow, it's like a rumble almost. Get your chains out. Gary Bucco, nice to have you here, Gary. Coasters. We don't need no stinking coasters. Just kidding. I come from a long line of French barbarians. Hi, y'all. Well, it's good to have you here, Bucco. One of my favorite characters from one of my favorite movies, Dogs of War. I know I bring that up all the time when I see your name, but why not? Vive la mort, vive la guerre, vive la sacre mercenaire. Jacob Vargas, nice to have you here, Jacob. Good evening, Knife Junkies, Bob and Jim. Well, it's good to have you here, Jacob. I hope that battle went well. It looks like it did. Jason Small says, beautiful. And I think he's talking about that Randall. What is that again? That is the number 16. So it's the number 16 handle. The number 16 is normally a dive knife that has this handle and a 7-inch drop point with serrations on the back. But this is one that it's called the 16-7, 16 model with the 7-inch blade. SP special number 1, that's the number 1 blade fighter. So altogether, that's the 16-7 SP number 1. It's taken me until today, because I did a little collection selections short video on this. It took me till today, I've had this knife for a few years now, to be able to remember that. Angry Tom says, I love the swim by whatever knife it is. Excellent. It works with the big blades. The small blades, it works all right, but then I have to get it too close to the camera and we lose out on some of the light the way I have things set up. Fred Ferbemeyer, nice to have you here, Fred. Hey, Bob, Junkies. Always happy to spend time with my evil minions. It's great to have you here, Fred. As always, it's getting hot in here, so I'm going to open up my flannel. It's flannel season. It's nice and chilly here in Virginia, and man, this is my time of year. I love the fall. Adrian Fighter 35 says, love my Thursday night knives coasters. They've been under Sapporo beer or Clearly Canadian lately. I know Sapporo beer, but I don't know what Clearly Canadian is. I take it that's a beer, and I'm glad you're using them. We are civilized people here. Even if we like some uncivilized things, we should always watch out for the woodwork. That was always my mom's thing. The woodwork. Archer, how you doing, Archer? Nice to have you here, as always. Happy Thursday night knives, everyone. I love your setup there with the possible, what do they call that? The possibles bag, or anyway, you got the bow, the quiver, and the bag with all the stuff you might need. I like that. Matt Maurer, nice to have you here, Matt. Bob, what up? He says, Not much, man. Just hanging out on Thursday Night Knives, enjoying the first night of the weekend. Even though I have to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, it is still the first night of the weekend. Jason Small says, Bob, did you get a weird email of some of my collection in the Pickall design? Jason, I was just talking about that, man. I loved the huge picture. And I also was saying, I will get back to you tomorrow. I saw that today and I was working. I put it in quotes, but I was working. I was just working in this office because I telework on Thursdays now. Something I never trusted myself to do, but actually find I'm quite productive in my own space here. But I will email you back tomorrow. And that Pickall, gorgeous, nicely done. I was trying to ferret out who you're working on that with, and then I figured it's not my business. You'll tell me when you're ready. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful looking design coming from Jason there. Matt Lamana says, make no mistake, I love the opening question. It tickles the OS 10 portion of my brain. Nice, very nice. I know what you mean. I have a very large OS 10 portion of my brain. Pardon me. Craig Vincent says, Bob, I finally got myself a 5 Max. How do you like it? I was just thinking of the 5 Max today because one of the knives I had with me was not the 4 Max, but the 8010. And it made me think of the 5 Max. And I still don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the drop point blades, depending. So let me know. Do you like the 5 Max or not? I expect you're going to say it's awesome. Terminator Joe says, back in the day, you were smoking in the boys' room. Yeah, I was smoking just in the woods. I would have gotten kicked out of school if I was smoking in the boys' room. Joseph S. says, good evening, everyone. Joseph, awesome to have you here, sir. Terminator, he was a winner last week. And I just want to say, speaking of Halloween, do you have a Halloween knife? Let me think about it. Maybe the Buck 119, though it should be a 120. But let me think about that for a second, Terminator Joe. But it's very apropos that you mentioned that because we're giving this knife away tonight. This was actually won a couple of weeks back, but was never claimed. And it's a perfect time to do this. So tonight with #knife in the chat, you will be able to win this. And let's get this done. Let's get this done soonish. All right. Sound good? Soonish. So #knife in the comment can get you this beautiful Coke Tools designed concept. Cheers to Dave of OG Blade Reviews who donated this to the channel. Me to give to you. Michael Elliott. Nice to have you here, Michael. Good evening, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Hope y'all had a great week thus far. It's been a tempestuous week, but you know what? That's what makes you feel alive. Thank you for coming, as always. And Michael emailed me to let me know that the Gunfighter Customs Gunfighter is more in about the 325 to 350 range. Someone asked last week, and I misquoted. So thank you. He is the designer of that knife, which is so incredibly awesome. So take note of that. Jason Small says, I just got the Stroop Knives Green Beret Dagger. It is amazing. Ooh. Okay, I remember when he came out with that one. It's a guardless dagger, if I'm remembering correctly. It's got some of that rock patterning on the medial ridge. I have a couple of Stroop knives, the TR3. Wait, what is it called? I think it's the TR3 and the push dagger. I love the push dagger. The TR3 is also awesome. It has my logo on it, and it was a gift from my wife for Christmas a number of years back. Stroop Knives, Chris is a great guy, and his little kids, I don't know if you follow them on Instagram, but you can see his kids are like young, and they're already commandos. It's pretty amazing. Alex Kerber, nice to have you here, Alex. That's the ward off the evil eye, the Malocchio. James Hart says, this week has been hard on the wallet. That's better than just hard. I bought 3 new knives, big ones, fixed blades, 2 Crocodile Dundee knives, more or less, and the Cold Steel Arkansas toothpick. The Arkansas toothpick, to start off, is really sweet. I got that one for my brother a couple of years back. These Crocodile Dundee knives, is this from Down Under Knives? With the stacked leather handles. I've wanted one of those for a long time. I've never pulled the trigger on that. Let me know if you like those, James. Karen Slavin, nice to have you here, Karen. Hello, fellow junkies. Happy Thursday night knives. Hashtag knife. And why is hashtag knife in Karen's lower third there? Because she wants this knife. Karen wants this knife. If you want this knife, just put hashtag knife in the comment. Autumn Wind, he wants the knife. Good to have you here, Autumn Wind. Hello, Bob. Hello, all, he says. Well, hello to you, good sir. Let me just say, Paul Mills says, Bob DeMarco. And I say to you, Paul Mills, good to have you here, man. Always. I love that greeting. And I love, love having you here. Doug says, Bob, my daughter who resides 100 miles away, she called me Monday and told me the tomahawk I am sending you, I left there. I'm going back on Sunday to get it. Hey, man, don't make a special trip, please. That makes me feel bad. Next time you see her, grab it. I cannot wait. Believe me, I can't wait. Or I can wait. I anticipate it and look forward to it with great fondness. But don't make a special trip. That's 100 miles both ways. Please don't. That's like at least a half-hour drive both ways. If you're Lone Star Dowboy. And clearly Canadian, I saw that is sparkling water. I'm addicted to it. I drink. I just this night said to my wife, 1 sparkling water a day, because I could just drink it all day long. Chris 229, nice to have you here, Chris. Evening, everyone. Good evening to you, sir. Jesse says, evening all. Good evening to you, Jesse. I pulled out this Donald Fry. Good to have you here, Donald. Howdy, everyone. Happy Thursday night knives. We got the TKel Knives 001, Agent 001, my design collaboration with Tim Kell. This sucker's coming out in its second run on November 1st. So tune in November 1st. For a while, I was saying October 1st. And then Tim got in touch and said, I got it wrong. It's November 1st. So I said, don't forget, Tim. 10 is October, 11 is November. No, I didn't say that. You really want to get this because it's milled by another Nick. We have Nick in the comments here, Niche Designs, Nick Rogers of Niche Designs. So nice to have you here, sir. Hey, Bob and everyone. I'm unfortunately under the weather currently, but happy to be hanging out in the chat and helping answer questions about the Scuffle. Well, let me just tell you, since we have you right here in the comments, I absolutely love it. Very nicely done. And actually, since Nick is here, let me show you this. This is a prototype of his egress, right? This is the egress, or is this the ingress? I don't remember the name, but I love the knife. And he really, really did me a solid and gave me this back in the day, which is only 4 years ago, I guess. But what a beautiful, beautiful knife. And I'm one of only a few owners of this knife. And man, it is so sweet. And this is the more tactical of the different versions he had made. 1931 Leatherworks. Good to have you here, sir. Hello, everyone, he says. So Niche Designs and Nick Rogers, man, he has a rich history of designing super cool knives. He's made the ingress and the egress now for that look different from this prototype for Kaiser Concept. Suddenly I'm forgetting. So help get the record straight, Nick. Let me know. OG Blade Review says, new Pikal Fixie out from DC Blades. The LMS, Last Man Standing, should have one any day now. What does that one look like? I just did a short, a collection selection short of the Sting today, and it's not a Pikal, but it may as well be. It's so perfect in reverse grip. It's a reverse grip Persian, basically. Denny O'Fools, good to have you here, Denny. Hope you're doing well, sir. He has hashtag knife because he wants this. Brown Sugar 0069, nice to have you here with us. Also wants this awesome knife. So does Tammy. All right, everyone, this is a must-have, and please claim it. The last time this was given away, I can't reach you if you don't reach out to me. So if you win this tonight, please send me an email to TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com, like Ken Reed would do if he won, and give me your address so I can get it in the mail. Usually it's the next day, almost always. Sometimes it's like a week later because things fall apart. But John Schaaf, nice to have you here, John. He says hashtag knife as well. Lots of people want this knife. It is a super cool knife, and it's a concept, which means it's very well made. Jacob Vargas says, dang, must be nice. I don't know. Still tank top weather here in Texas. Yeah, it has gotten it just today was the first cool day. We have the windows open. It's nice. It's lovely. But yeah, still tank top weather in Tejas. I'm sure it'll be like that for a while now. Canary SK. Nice to have you here, Canary. The giveaway knife is Halloween orange. It is indeed. And hopefully you've put hashtag knife in the comments. Ugh. Ooh, that coffee's way too strong. And I like it strong, but Matt Maurer says anything Halloween themed is amazing. Oh man, Tomas is doing something Halloween themed right now. Not sure what it is, but he's trying to get people to vote for him. So if you like Tactical Tavern, go check it out. He's got something happening. Halloween. He loves Halloween also. Brown Sugar says, hello, Knife Junkie. Hello to you, Brown Sugar. Hope the world is treating you well on this fine Thursday. Terminator Joe says, hashtag knife. Oh, it's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a scuffle tonight for this knife. See what I did there? Sean says, I got the T-Kells drop yesterday and scooped up the 007 Ronin. Oh, that's awesome. With the auxiliary manufacturing wrap and the black leather sheath. That is sumptuous. I don't know what I was thinking and not jumping on that. Now waiting on your drop for the 001. Also been shopping for more Randalls. Sean, I like the cut of your jib, sir. Yes, indeed. 2 agents and a Randall. I even like that, my knife is in the same, buying spree. Makes me feel good. It's like reflected glory. Craig Vincent says, I'm sorry, let me start that again. Craig Vincent says, I've been in no rush to get a 5 Max, but it was time to add one to the collection. I like it way more than I thought I would. It feels awesome in hand, and it's slicey as all get out. All right, Craig, is it stabby, though? And what do I have in my pocket right now? Oh, okay. And the reason I ask is because I love the AD10. I have to say that. But I kind of feel like I'd like the AD10 Tonto better than the drop point, though the drop point that I have is the first one that came out, S35VN, and a deep hollow grind. It's like a sweet blade, but I just like something that's a little pointier. Todd Carr, nice to have you here, Todd. Evening, everyone. Listening and lurking. Lurking about. Well, it's nice to have you here. Todd, please hashtag knife so that we have a nice, what am I trying to say? A nice group of people that we can select from so that the winner feels like they've really done something. This is the knife we're giving away. I know that this might not be incredibly legal in your vicinity, but I know they're doing some pretty harsh stuff up there. I know they want to do this voluntary gun buyback in the Great White North. That sounds really odious and to me. So anyway, James Hart says, nope. One is from HMC. The other is from Warivo. I've seen that. The Warivo knife is a better version. Daniel from 411 Outdoors covered the Warivo. But the handles are horn with some stacked leather. All right. Yeah, I want to get one. I want to get some copy of that knife. I've always admired it. I mean, since I was a little kid and that movie came out. The Maroney. Good to have you here, the Maroney. Hey, he says. Hey to you and your beautiful family, though probably they're in bed and not watching. Sword XXXY, nice to have you here. Speaking of down under. Good day, Bob, Jim, and Junkies. Good day to you, good sir. Hope all is well down there. I was going to say down south, but that's like more than south. That's like you probably see it as the top of the world. John Sisney, nice to have you here, John. Great show. #knife. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the kind words. #knife. So he wants to get that also. I'm going to hold this up just because it's here and I love this thing. Jacob Vargas says, Bob, I just received my monsoon finished woodsman from Blade Dawson Knives. Okay. Dawson Knives is awesome. I'm super impressed. He says, I don't know which one the monsoon is, but they make some really cool knives. And now I'm having a senior moment and forgetting the name of the guy from Dawson Knives that I interviewed. But what a cool dude and what a great outfit. I need to get it. It's my goal to get one knife at least from everyone I've interviewed. That will not happen. I just know it. It's kind of an impossibility. But I would love that to happen. Dawson Knives is one I'd love to add to the collection. John Schaaf says, Bob, glad to be back. Good to have you here, John. Always looking forward to your Thursday show. The podcast this week was Chef's Kiss. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. The one coming up is also Chef's Kiss. I have Mr. Williams back on the show. And John... I almost called him, wait a sec, James. I almost called him John. John Williams writes music for Spielberg movies. James Williams designs these beautiful blades and is 1,000% badass. And he came back on the show. We had a conversation last night. It'll be on Sunday. He is orbiting in a different realm. That guy, he's intense, man. And it was so good to talk to him. Here's one of my few James Williams design knives. I also have the Hisatsu, but this HZ6 is so cool. Makes me want to get the HZ4 for everyday carry. But this thing is so wicked. Definitely check out the interview that's coming on Sunday. But thank you for your kind words. Oh, God, that's awesome. Look at that. That is beautiful. I would call that a clip point. Most pedestrians on the street would call that a drop point modified with a swedge, but that's definitely a clip point. It's just that the clip is starting at the thumb ramp. Beautiful knife and very nice snag, by the way, sir. James Hart says, oh, the Dundee knives are made from D2 steel and have taken a paper slicing edge. Very, very nice. I love D2. People kind of think it's, D2, we're on to something else. But I remember when D2 was the coveted super steel, and it's still awesome. Got news for you. T-Kel giveaway, he says. Yes, in the month of November, we will be giving away a T-Kel Knives 001 to a Gentleman Junkie. So if you're a member here on YouTube or a member over on Patreon, that will be happening next month. This month, since we're talking about it, Jesse Reisbach, nice to have you here, sir. That 001 is so freaking kick-ass. Jesse, you're making me blush, sir. I guess I couldn't agree with you more. But a lot of that has to do with how amazing Tim Kell is at interpreting designs. He basically fixed the handle drawing I sent him, and that became the whole Agent 001 series, and he nailed the blade exactly as I sent it to him. So thank you so much. Just keep your eyes peeled on November 1st, and you could get one of these. This Battle Lock grip is so nice, man. There's something stuck in there. I really love it. I didn't think I would, but I really, really like the Battle Lock. Super sweet. All right. Victor Blades, nice to have you here, Victor. He says, good evening, Bob, Jim, and my Junksters. It's good to have you here, Victor, as always. Looking forward to hearing from Mr. Belkin. Black Kieranite or milled tie, what to do? I know that they're both awesome, but the one I have isn't either one of those, and it's super awesome. So I don't know. You've got a decision. It's decision time again, as the song says. Doug Bowl says, I'm not aware of the Scuffle. Can you describe it? Well, this is the perfect opportunity to do so, actually, because it's the knife I carried today. So that said, I think it might just be time to get to a pocket check.
What's in his pocket? Let's find out. Here's the Knife Junkie with his pocket check of knives.
In my pocket today, front right pocket, was the Scuffle from JW Collab, the collaborations branch of Jack Wolf Knives. This is a collaboration with the great and powerful Nick Rogers of Niche Designs, who is in the chat tonight. And it has really, it's gone straight to the heart for me, because this is a 3.5-inch blade. This is the biggest knife to come out from Jack Wolf Knives in all of its many incarnations. And man, it is super badass. It is an Old West inspired, if I'm not incorrect, Nick, I don't mean to put words in your mouth about your inspiration, but to me, that's what it seems like. And I think I may have heard that in the video that that Ben sent out, but a beautiful Bowie knife, hearkening back to not only older, old school folders, but also Western Bowie knives. And I love this. So S90V, fully hollow ground, with a beautiful swedge and a fuller. We're going to bring Ben in a second. I'll show you everything else I was carrying. I'll make it quick so we can get right to the discussion of this knife. But I've been carrying it and using it constantly since I got it. And I love this colorway. As a matter of fact, I was just, I love it so much that I actually use the term colorway without retching. But yeah, I was just telling Ben, it is so perfect. Actually, it reminds me of my other favorite Jack Wolf knife that I have in the same sort of vein, and that is the Diamondback. I love this thing so much. And together they make a beautiful pair. But this is about what I'm carrying, so let me just get to this real quick. I also had the Cadet on me from Victorinox, a knife that needs no introduction, really. This was a telework day, so I was at home. I had this on my belt. Yeah, I love this thing. This is the little, or the small, small Northern Hunter from LT Wright Knives. So cool. LT Wright is such an awesome guy. As someone in the comments, and now I don't remember who said chef's kiss, but what a great guy. And man, he makes incredible knives, and I'm absolutely loving this thing. And it throws sparks like you would not believe. I do have a Civivi fob on it. Please forgive me for the cognitive dissonance in that, but I needed a fob to pull it out of this great sheath. And then last up, for emotional support, my ESK today was the always beautiful and ever deadly Black Bear Classic from Cold Steel. This is an old one that I got on eBay with the leather sheath. I'd been holding out for a long time. The fit and finish on this is incredible. It is awesome. I absolutely love it. This is what I had in my pockets and on my person today. This was actually mostly just by my side today, just in case someone broke into this room while I was doing my work and I couldn't reach anything else. Well, I had that right next to me. So I had the Scuffle from JW Collab. I had the Victorinox Cadet. I had the small, or the mini, what is it? Yeah, I had the Northern Hunter, small Northern Hunter from LT Wright, which I love so much, on my belt. And I had the Black Bear Classic. But since we have the Scuffle on the table, and that's the discussion of the hour, let's bring in Ben, my good friend Ben Belkin, who's, man, what a businessman this guy is. And also just what a mensch. Good to have you here, man.
You too, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
Oh, I can say hi to Oscar while we're at it. He just
Hey,
kind of
Oscar.
rolled
Is
up on
Oscar
us.
a Bichon Frise?
That's what he is.
Oh, hello. Hello, Oscar. I grew up with a Bichon. I love them. Got a soft spot in my heart. They're such good dogs.
They're great, man. I'm a total sucker. There's another one here too, Louis.
Louis.
Who, yep. So maybe he'll trot in here soon because he'll get jealous.
Louis will get jelly. Love it.
That's it. So
What a
how's it
cutie.
going, Bob? How you doing?
It's going great. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm happy it's Thursday. I'm happy it's the weekend. And I mean, I'm so happy about this too. I love JW Collab. I love the whole concept. and I love the 2 knives you've put out so far. The Tango was one of my most carried of the summer because it's so small, light, and beautiful. A Cerberus Knives collaboration, and then the Jacob Ginsburg, Jacob Creates Collusion. This thing has been riding in my pocket right next to my my everyday folder carry. It's the perfect size, and I think his designs are beautiful. And you graced me with that awesome black and purple model, and now you come out with this thing. I don't know, man. You're outdoing yourself.
It's been fun. I'm really glad we did this. It takes longer for us to bring these to the market because they're outside of my typical form factor, and we're trying new things with every one of these. So they take more work, but I think we get a better product. It's like the whole two heads are better than one.
Yeah, a better product. How? Because it's not what you would necessarily be imagining, or
Yeah, it's better product. Like better, so subjective. What I mean is you get the product of two people collaborating together instead of the product of a single person. And to me, you could argue that that's a better product because the product of cooperation and collaboration. So subjectively, that's a better product, right?
yeah, yeah.
If you value that spirit, then you don't get that from something that came from one person's head. That's kind of what I mean by that.
I mean, I would agree with you on so many. I mean, think of a movie made by one person, and we've seen films made by art films made by one person, and they might be interesting and valuable in certain ways. But you see a movie that's made by a lot of experts and a lot of artists, it's going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that, like, I just want to come up with on my own. So for me, it's really rewarding to do this because it lets me work with my friends and produce something that's outside of the box that I created for myself. And it's not bad. Like, you want to have a brand identity, you want to have a lane,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you want to push boundaries. And I like to have a reason and a story to tell when we do stuff. And this was a way to have a comprehensive program and a reason to bring forth designs that are not looking like Jack Wolf's wolves.
Yeah, that idea of staying in your lane, I'm going to come back to that in a sec. But Nick says that is the prototype of the Ingress. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. The first Kickstarter attempt, design made by We Knives, cool blast from the past. The Egress was the slimmed down EDC version made by Concept. Man, yeah, I really value this knife. This is in the top drawer, if you will. But the whole idea of stay in your lane is sometimes really a valuable thing. But most of the time, if you stay in your lane, that's where you stay. You know what I mean? I hate to put it that way, but
Well,
uh,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's a tight line to walk, right? Because you can't be all over the place because then people don't know what to expect from you and you can't establish some sort of, well, identity, I guess. I mean, so, but you don't want to do everything the same all the time because then it gets boring. And
yeah,
so it's a balancing act of, you know, I guess staying in your lane, which sounds so negative, right? When you say it, stay in your lane, it's like, what, you mean constrict me and don't allow me to do anything other than what you expect? Like that has such a negative connotation.
yeah, it does.
But at the
Like
same
it's
time,
like saying, mind your business.
yeah, but at the same time, like I think it's important to establish an identity and have some sort of recognizable aesthetic or design language, to use kind of cheap term, design language. It's like we use that a lot. It's kind of like what did you say earlier? Oh, colorway. It's like one of
Colorway.
those words. It just gets overused.
Yeah.
But my goal has always been, if you put a Jack Wolf on the table and you can't read what's on the tang, would you recognize it? And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Now, if you put that knife on the table, no one's going to necessarily say, hey, that looks like a Jack Wolf. And that's what I wanted out of this.
Okay. All right. Dwayne, nice to have you. Bunch of people joining us. Thank you all for coming. We got Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives, and Ben has really diversified greatly in the past year. I guess it's been a year with the Steel series and the Gateway series and JW collab. You've really kind of broken out of your mold, and you could have, as far as I'm concerned, you could have stayed in that lane, so to speak, and been in that mold and been successful and had my attention the whole time. But I really admire, Jesse says, nice. I really admire your sense of, risk taking and adventure. It's all calculated risk, obviously. You're not a reckless person in any way, that I know of anyway. But you really have struck out and done some really interesting things. With the Gateway series, bringing the classic fit and beauty and design of a premium Jack Wolf knife, but bringing it into a more affordable range for people who maybe don't want to spend that money or can't spend that money. Hey, Josh 304, good to have you here. And then with the Steel series, which is a kind of Midland step with some very interesting materials and beautiful finish. And then the JW collab, where you're melding the minds, bringing the minds together. Tell me about this and how you chose this, what the process of this was like.
So I think we should talk about the collab process in general and how I approach that, which will dovetail nicely into that conversation to answer your question. So you could really go about it a couple ways, right? I could contact my collaborators and I could say, I want you to draw me something that looks like this, show them a picture of something, or I could paint some kind of picture. Like, I want you to make a knife that's got a 4-inch handle and a 3.5-inch blade, and I want it to be a clip point, and I want it to have this feature. Like, but I've learned, because I work with artists all the time, right? With Jack Wolf. And the more creative freedom I give a designer, the better off it is, because then it's like more theirs than mine, you know? And so I think the only thing I told Nick was like, I just want it to be a modern folder. Like, I don't want it to be a slip joint. I
Wow.
want it to be a locking knife. And that's Nick's design, you know? And then when he submits stuff to me, then it's like, okay, now I'm going to give my feedback. Like, whatever. I mean, there's been several iterations of that, and I probably could have done better homework and looked through all our revisions, but that's when it becomes a collaborative process. So it's not like we collaborated on what that knife's supposed to look like. No, that's Nick's design. And then he submits it to me, and it's like, okay, well, what if we have a fuller, or what if we make the flipper tab look like this, or hey, if we're going to add pivot collars, or let's add some milling here. Like, we refine it together. but but that's my approach. I really wanted these to be designs that were rooted in someone else's creativity, with me understanding my audience and what my OEM's capability is, and like, hey, let me help you put polish on it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, I want you to submit something to me. I don't want to design this. Part of this too is like, I would like to be able to have a source for designs, because I can't just keep designing everything all the time. It becomes very difficult
Yeah.
when you're running the business and doing all that type of work to just throw your designer hat on. In fact, I find that to be the most challenging part of this entire business, is flip-flopping between
Mm.
businessman.
Left brain and right brain.
Totally, dude. It's the most opposite left brain and right brain thing you got going on with this type of business. And a lot of the creativity in running the business still requires, I think, left brain thinking. Like,
Mm.
processing the information is really right brained, but creative solutions to problems is kind of a left brain pursuit. But dude, sitting down to draw a knife, like, I don't know if it gets more left brained than, or right brain than that. I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
them
yeah.
confused. Right
Right.
brain, the creative side. So it's just really difficult, especially if you're not super strong in CAD, which I'm dangerous, but I'm not an expert in that stuff. So like, there's some of this stuff I can do blindfolded. Like, I have spreadsheets, I can, sending, receiving emails, keeping track of everything, like second nature. But designing knives that are becoming more and more complex is tough. So I like being able to have a source, for designs. And this was a big It was a risk because who knows if people wanted to see this kind of stuff from me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like you don't expect the knife like the Tango, you don't expect a knife like the Scuffle from Jack Wolf. Now we're going to change that perception, right? Because we created a program, we created a like a subset, we created a reason for these to exist.
Yeah. I think
Um,
you've done that pretty forcefully. Forcefully isn't quite the word, but
with intention.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And you've got a lot of firsts in this knife. Before we get to those firsts, something you were saying about left brain, right brain, it's like um, you really need both. Jesse, nice to have you here. Nice jimping, he says. Couldn't agree with you more. I'm not sure if you talk about this jimping, but I love the jimping on this, by the way. But you really need both. Like out in society, you need the risk takers, the creative thinkers, but you also need the button down people to keep that in line. You really do need both of those. And it's got to be hard as a sole proprietor to go back and forth, back and forth. Uh, you know, John says, Ben. So he's saying hello, but a lot of firsts on this knife. Talk about those.
Yeah. So let's see, where do we begin? So it's the first time we've used the 150 thousandths blade stock. So we have thicker stock. Normally we're 120 thousandths, right? It's the first time we have pivot collars. It's the first time we have a rear flipper tab. It's the first time we have a stop pin that's press fit into the blade
Yeah.
and not and the track is in the actual scales, which you can show people through the top. Yep.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
You can see that
So
chin.
it's the first time we did that.
Hey, Cliff.
It's the it's the first time we put milling in the lock bar insert, which is a really cool
Oh,
detail.
wait, are you talking about? No, what are
Yes.
you talking about? This right here?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
That
to access the lock bar. It's nice.
yeah. So the lock bar insert itself, we put milling in so you can press on it. And then
Oh,
that
yeah,
lock
yeah. Okay.
and that lock bar insert, it's the first time it's secured solely from the inside. We also
Hmm.
did hidden hardware. So there's hardware. Nice. My daughter's got a really nice outfit on. My there's screws inside the frame screwing into the scale. So there's only one exposed screw back there, but there's hidden screws on the inside.
Well,
And
the
so
clip is oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
look in
yeah,
the
yeah.
blade well. Look in the blade well. There's screws in there. So they had
Yep.
to glue threaded posts into the bottom side of the scales.
I don't have a flashlight here. Damn it.
And we did speed holes. Now we've done lightning pockets before, but we've never done them on the folders. We've only done them on the tangs of the fixed blades.
Angry Tom says more Gateway series, please.
Loud and clear, Tom. It's happening. We've been working on it. Um, yeah. So Scuffle because it's so the possum is Nick's character. He's got a tattoo of a possum, so we riffed off that. And the
Yeah,
name
yeah,
Scuffle because it's a Bowie knife, a fighter knife, and you know all the names of the collab series have something to do with two people, you know, doing something together. So like
yeah,
to tango, to collude, or to
yeah,
scuffle.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, this is definitely so uh okay, backing up. Uh I love all the firsts on this, and you handled them all with real finesse. They're all really well done. They all seem very natural and not like you were trying to force fit anything.
Yeah, it wasn't like here's this list of things we have to have. I mean, it was like here's this knife, and as it evolved, can we incorporate this? Yes or no? Um, yeah,
Doug,
I love it.
Doug Bull is saying, Ben, beautiful knife. I am not familiar with it. What is the purpose of the longitudinal groove?
So you would call that a fuller, and its main purpose, aside from looking cool, is what Bob just did. You get your middle finger in there and you can flick it. Bob, throw a little oil on that detent ball. I feel like it could use a blob.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't noticed. It feels so. Oh, and I've noticed this same thing with the Tango, which is just at this point just ridiculously smooth. From the moment I got it to every time I use it, it gets smoother and smoother. But
Yeah, they break in good.
yeah,
I'm almost like to the point where I want to put literature in with the knives and just tell people like, hey, if there's one place you're going to oil these locking knives, like you don't need to load up the ball bearings with oil. The best place to oil is on that detent ball because it's ceramic and it's wearing in a track in the steel in the
okay,
blade tang.
taking
And if you're wearing a track into a blade tang, what's it doing? It's displacing particulate, and that particulate likes to collect. So if
yeah,
you oil that area, it lets it suspend. Um, and it's not an intuitive place to put oil because you can't really see it, you know?
yeah. You're right. Okay, thanks, Ben, says Doug.
Yeah, you're
Also,
welcome.
these fullers do a lot of different things. They lighten the blade a little bit. They add rigidity to it, like an I beam
Like an
in a
I
way.
beam. Yeah.
And then also, when you stick it in someone, it allows blood to drain. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a
That's
blood groove.
yeah, I love that. I love that. I always thought that was funny. But yeah, yep. So it really does look like a fighting knife to me, and I know I see things through that lens. I also happen to think that this looks like a fighting knife, but I know it's much more of a utility type thing. But still, this looks like a sax to me in a lot of ways. Um, yeah, these two. So tell me about the materials and such that you have used on these.
Yeah, so that's another one of the hard parts of the job is coming up with the specifications of all the configurations. Now, Donnie, who's my right hand man, it's one of the things I'm like most grateful for that he helps me with because to do that in a vacuum kind of sucks, honestly. Like you want to have someone else to think through that with you. Um, and I'll give Nick credit, like he gave some feedback too, and I had debated not doing the full frame lock and just doing bolster lock versions, but he's like, we got to do the frame lock. It has those cool fins. We worked really hard on that whole thing. I'm like, yeah, you're right, my bad, because it just seems like bolster locks are safer. But anyway, we
Also,
for sales, like,
oh, okay.
but like sometimes they surprise me. In fact, it's not even an accurate conclusion because like the Tango, the full frame lock was the most popular one. So
Ah, yeah.
sometimes I'm like, man, the bolster locks sell better. And then you come out with a knife and then the full frame lock outsells the rest of them. It's like, I just don't know what you people want exactly. All I can do is try to serve you a meal you'll eat, you know? But we try to vary it. So it's like, okay, we got you a Kieranite one, and it's kind of monochromatic. And then we got
The black
you
one, right?
black ice Kieranite with a DLC frame, a belt satin blade, and polished collars and backspacer. So it's kind of black and silver. Okay, then we've got the what I would call kind of the utilitarian one. That's the one you have. It looks canvassy, or even though it's linen, but you know what I mean. It's got those earth tones. It's
It
got
looks like a piece
bronze.
of World War II military kit to me.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's got a stonewash blade, so it's got that more military look, like you
Yeah.
say. And then you've got the full frame lock. Now, we debated, we don't usually do the same ano color twice in a run, but that bronze looks so good
Yeah.
with the full tie, and it looks so good with the green. We just had to do it. I didn't want to use blue or purple on the frame lock just to do it. Like sometimes you have to like say yourself, just varying them for the sake of varying them isn't the right choice. We need to
Yeah.
make the best
Yeah.
present the best variance. And then what's the fourth one?
You've
Oh,
got that
the
blue.
blurple.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crystal tie. So we leaned into that hard. We did crystal tie scales, crystal tie backspacer, crystal tie pocket clip, crystal tie pivot collars.
What is that? Is that a special material?
No, they take titanium and they bake it like at some obnoxious temperature, and it reveals the crystal structure in the metal. And then I think there's an etching process to make it pop, kind of like you etch Damascus.
Hmm.
And it's just It's just titanium, but there's more processing to give it that look, and then they can anodize it whatever color you want. So we've done blurple, we've done green, we've done dark blue, and we DLC coated it one time too on those blade show tangos we did. It's more expensive, and that knife I probably should have charged more for that knife. What it cost, because of what it cost me to make it, but I'm just like whatever, you
Yeah.
know. I don't nickel and dime. So
Yeah.
we've got those four, and then there's a dealer exclusive. I guess I call it a vendor exclusive because it's at Blade Binge. They're not one of our regular stocking dealers, but as you guys might know, they have what they call their dark mode.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so there's a dark mode version, and that one's Brittany Blue camo carbon, and everything else is DLC.
That is a beauty. That's the fifth one when you look at it on your web page.
Right.
By the way, the fuller is nice and sharp on both the top and the bottom. The bottom doesn't matter as much, but the top is actually especially sharp, and you can. And by sharp, I don't mean it's not going to harass your fingers or anything, but you can slow roll it too, to nice effect. So you're in the office kitchen and you're gonna slice up your lunch. You slow roll it, no one's gonna notice. You know, as opposed to just flicking it out like that.
Yeah,
These
and
two
then
knives look very classy, like a gentleman's knife.
yeah, and we do a lot of that type of thing at Jack Wolf. Now, here's something that's interesting, a little inside baseball. That knife was supposed to be flat ground, like it was designed as a flat ground
Oh,
knife.
really?
Prototypes were flat ground. And then they made us a prototype, but they hollow ground it. And I looked at it and I'm like, this looks pretty good. I showed Nick, it's like, hey man, look, they ground this. What do you think? And he's like, man, that looks good because like it changed the way the swedge looked. It made the swedge more pronounced. Um, and yeah, so it was kind of a last minute change that happened just because they accidentally ground one that way.
I gotta say, I've become fully hooked on your full or nearly full height hollow grinds, and I'm so glad this is hollow ground. I just you know I go to Jack Wolf Knives for a lot of things, and one of them is for fine cutting,
Yeah,
and
for
I just love the hollow grinds on your knives. It would throw me off. The only flat grind I know of on your knives is the tip of the Tango.
yeah, and the LT Wright Vampire Hunters, like he flat grinds, but those are thin stock and he grinds them thin behind the edge for me. And my priority is always going to be slicing, unless I make a chunky knife like that's meant for beating things with. But generally
Yeah,
speaking,
yeah.
I like thin hollow ground knives, man. They just do what you need them to do.
So, what's your selection process like in terms of you've had three great designers so far. I'm not sure of the gentleman who designs and makes Cerberus knives, but Jacob Ginsburg I've been following a long time. His knives are just drool worthy. Same thing with Nick. How do you come up with? How do you come up with who you're collaborating with?
Well, first and foremost, they have to be, I'm looking for people that I know, am
Hmm.
friends with, and I want to work with,
Hmm.
you know? Because to collaborate means you're working together. And to do that, there has to be some comfort and familiarity. Like it's better if there is.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm primarily not looking for people who have their own brands like mine. Like, if you have your own brand, you can just design and distribute your own knives. Like, to me, working with these younger guys is what I'm more interested in because the older we get, the less cool we get. That's the rule of life.
Yeah. No.
You're not in your 20s anymore. You're not the cutting edge. Like you might be running things, but
Yeah.
you ain't setting a trend. That comes
Yeah.
from the youth. And I recognize that. So I like having the
Very
young guys
smart.
around. Yeah, I like having the young guys around because they're the ones who are deciding what's cool and what the trends are, you know? And
Satisfaction. Nice to have you here. And Cat Scratch says, "Hollow be thy grind." Pretty funny.
indeed. So for me, it kind of like those are the things I'm interested in. Those aren't hard and fast rules, but that's what I'm focused on. Because if I can spend time with the younger guys, like they're going to bring something fresh, new, and interesting, I have an opportunity to do some mentoring. Like if we want our business, our industry, our hobby, our passion to continue to thrive, like lessons, experiences have to be passed down. But you don't go to like how to run a knife business school. You don't go to how to make a
Yeah.
knife school,
Yep.
and
Hang on,
go
hold
ahead.
that thought real quick. Kyle has something really interesting. Kyle Conley says a fuller from stock removal will not increase strength, which is what I was saying. If a blade has a fuller forged into it, then it can increase strength and more so on a taller blade. That's interesting. Thanks. Thank you, Kyle. Kyle's a sharpening expert for sure. Um, interesting perspective there. Uh, and John says, John Marchell, nice to have you here, John. He says, love my Jack Wolf knives. All the collabs have been great.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's kind of it, Bob, is I'm looking to work with some of the younger folks, some of the people who maybe have small little like smaller businesses, maybe they make things themselves, but they don't have wide distribution through the dealers,
Yeah.
and it's an opportunity. Of course, anytime you collaborate with someone, it's an opportunity to reach their audience and for them to reach your audience. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay, hang on. Craig Vincent says it's classy yet rugged, refined yet earthy, with a design that's both timeless and timely. Oh snap! I didn't know I was such a knife reviewer. Well, that is actually pretty apt, Craig. Even though it sounds a little funny, it is pretty apt because it is all of those things. And to me, like it's a this knife in particular is, I'm especially fond of Bowie knives, and this has a real, I don't know, it's got the feel of a real classic. Ben, how do you choose your steel when making blades? Asks Jacob Vargas.
I'm not the guy who is really focused on what steel to use for every different knife. I would prefer My approach has been find a steel that suits the intended use for these knives and stick with it. And for me, I started with M390, and you got to understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a slip joint collector whose whole collection was 1095, and the custom knives were almost all made out of CPM 154. Like that was nearly 100% of my collection was those two steels. So I was never the type to really dig into the advanced metallurgy. So when I started, I used M390 because it just seemed to be widely accepted and in a really good use for pocket knife steel. Um, and I would have stuck with it, honestly, except my perception wasn't that it was not a good performer as much as there was just so much of it out there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody was using it. And I'm like, I'd like to differentiate myself and maybe do some homework here and find out what would be a better steel for the type of knives I'm making, which are thinly ground, hollow ground, slicing blades. Like I'm doing a lot of slip joints. They're not for prying, they're not for batoning. You don't need crazy toughness. You really just need edge retention and corrosion resistance. Like I felt like
Mm-hmm.
those were the two priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing the research. I was asking my dealers, and like it just kept coming back S90V, S90V, S90V. And I'm like, it seems like a good fit. Why don't we try it? And man, that was, I think, January 2023. And we've been using it ever since.
I think it's smart. Like to me, those kind of super hard, super corrosion resistant super steels are the way to go on knives like slip joints that are probably the ones, if you live the sort of lifestyle I live, which is I'm not in the woods, I'm in suburbia, and it's best for the kind of cutting I do, which is somewhat infrequent. I don't want to be sharpening my knife all the time. The edges, frankly, I've never sharpened a Jack Wolf knife. I've never had to. And maybe if I had one and that was my only knife for years, yes. but they keep such an edge, and I'm so kind to them, or so gentle with them, that super steel on a slip joint seems to be the way to go, even more so than larger knives.
Yeah, I think so. And with the way these are ground, and I'll preach it because I think it's true. The geometry of the blade itself has a lot to do with how it cuts above and beyond the steel that's been
Yeah,
chosen or its Rockwell hardness. So have good cutting geometry. And so even if your knife loses that, in every steel will lose its initial keen edge,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But once that keen edge has been sort of overcome, now that knife will just keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and doing EDC stuff because the geometry is not fighting against you, and the edge retention of that S9DV, that like edge, you when you lose that first keen edge, the edge just continues to last so long.
yeah,
Paired with good geometry, you almost don't need to sharpen the damn things,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Keep them stropped every once in a while, and
Yeah.
you got to be good to go with
Now,
that.
of course, you can sharpen it and make it sharper, but the point is, for the utility in which you need it. Um, I love it. I love the S90V. We've sold a lot of S90V knives at this point, a lot. And no one complains to me like, this gets dull too fast. This gets rusty.
Yeah.
Why don't you, some people prefer other steels. Like, that's fine. But I don't get quantifiable complaints about this stuff. It just works good.
All right, before we have to do a giveaway tonight, Ben, but before we do, Mattisfaction says, I use my knives to cut various cheeses and meats. I'm cool with any steel so long as geometry lets me cut smoothly through soft cheese, which is just
Amen,
about the
brother.
hardest freaking thing in the world to cut. And yeah, that's well said, because that is some unintuitively hard stuff to cut.
Right. Well, yeah.
All right, let's give this knife away, and then we'll get back. I want to talk to you about geometry and other things. But first, let's give this knife away. This one was a giveaway knife from a couple of weeks back that was unclaimed. And so it's time again. We have a bunch of people in the chat who put hashtag knife in. Let's do
Good
this.
luck, everyone.
Yeah, this is the KTC3 from Coke Tools and Concept, a brand we all know and love. As a matter of fact, the designer, Nick, where is it? Where'd it go? Here it is. Nick Rogers, who designed the Scuffle, has a number of knives with Concept. So a great, great company. Let's give this away in 3, 2, and 1. 61 people out there. Who's going to win it? It will tease us. It will look like it's stopping on one name and then go to the next. And it's going to Craig Vincent. All right, Craig, congratulations, sir. This is yours. I know you'll give me your address. I know I have your address, but if you don't mind, just email it to TheKnifeJunkie@gmail.com so that I don't have to search for it tomorrow. And I will appreciate that. It looks like Ben dropped out for a second. I'm sure he'll be back. Oh, there we go. Congratulations, Craig. Thank you for all your support. He's here every week and always adding a great, it's always a great conversation with Craig. So I'm glad you're getting this knife tonight, sir. So we were talking about edge geometry, and how does it work as a designer of many of your knives? And I know Nick designed this one, and you've been collaborating now, but most of the Jack Wolf knives have been your design. Do you go all the way down to the geometry and everything in your designs, or do you tell your engineers kind of where to go once you give them the profile and the design?
So I design in two-dimensional drawing, so the geometry isn't there. Okay, I do a two-dimensional drawing. I saw it, Kyle. I'll answer that in a second. Um, then a 3D model is created off the two-dimensional drawing. When that 3D model is created, you can see the edge geometry in the 3D model. So you can pull all kinds of measurements on it. You can see the radius they use. Like, they can use different wheels to cut different radius hollow grinds. So, the first few, it was like too thick. Um, probably too thin, like you don't want them too thin. So we just sort of did the dance. And then once the manufacturer understood what I like, I don't have to keep asking for it. They learned,
Yeah. 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 Before we get to Kyle's question, Victor Blades says, "Hey Ben, what's up, buddy? So, have you ever thought of reissuing the originals? What I would do for a laid back and a canine jack. What wouldn't happen to have? And oh,
You
you
wouldn't
wouldn't
happen to have
happen to
any
have any
laying
laying
around.
around.
Well, yeah, we do reissues. We did just recently reissue Canine Jack, so those are in stock at dealers. We don't have the titanium ones, but we did them in the steel series. So those are 185 bucks. We did the ultralight series. Those are really cool. 165 bucks. So those are at dealers. And I haven't done the laid back yet. Again, I'm sure I will. It's just we release a batch of knives every month, so we're 10 to 12 releases a year. And between new products and reissues, there's only so much a guy can do every year. Um,
Yeah,
and I really like new products. I don't like to just live off repeats. So
it's. I mean, that's a great kind of problem to have. People clamoring to get old designs or designs that they want to see. Laid
and I
back
and I
is
don't have any laying around, unfortunately.
uh, well, that's also a good problem to have. Kyle was asking a
Yeah, he
question.
asked about the steel. So I do not buy the sheets of steel and ship it over, but here's my understanding of how this goes down. The OEMs, they buy from trusted distributors in China. The trusted distributors buy in bulk from the mills. So like they import it in bulk. So the distributors will import from Europe, the distributors will import from the US. I'm talking like major imports, huge orders,
Yeah,
because they're then feeding the industry over there. And it's way more price efficient that way than me buying, however many sheets to do a production run and
yeah.
paying the freight and the tax and not getting economy of scale. So that is my understanding of how that works.
Hang on, just writing something down. Yeah, that's got to be a whole business unto itself.
I
Uh,
think to a scale we cannot imagine,
oh yeah.
you know.
I mean, just think of how many like high-end manufacturers there are over there. Um, you know,
Well, and
using all sorts of.
they use these steels for more than just knives. Like these are tool steels. They use these steels for
Mm,
all
mhm.
kinds of stuff, for industry, for die making. Like it's kind of the backbone of modern society, right? The steel industry. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, that's my best answer for you. Best information I have.
Oh, that's yeah, that's true, man. It is going everywhere. Just think of all the airplanes with turbine engines that have like however many blades they have in them, and they're large. I'm not sure if they're using S90V, but there's a lot of steel that you don't even think of. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, man. Um, yeah. So in terms of collabs, JW collab, how many knives do you have, or how many collaborations are you thinking of? And I know you're not going to do any spoilers here, but outgoing out front. Kyle says, "Gotcha. Odd that Laren and Mr. Glesser said China isn't buying Crucible steel."
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I mean, they've been buying it for a long time. Maybe they haven't been able to get new purchases since the kind of the shakeup happened.
Hmm.
Maybe they're working off an old supply. I don't know. I wish I knew more, honestly. Um, but that's just what I'm told.
Well, Matisfaction only flies in 747s, which is odd as it is because I don't know if they fly those too much anymore, but with Magna Cut steel turbine engines. And I do you ever get people asking about Magna Cut?
Yeah, we did it with the LT projects. I There are some Chinese OEMs who use it because they bring it over. I just look at it as like it ain't broke, don't fix it with the S90V, and I like it. And I don't know that I want to necessarily have to if it's going to cost more. I don't want to raise my prices.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, just not super interested in switching for my mainline stuff. I like it if I can kind of drum up more US small projects. I like it for that.
I was just curious because I know it's the current, and I don't even know if it's the current flavor,
I mean,
but I
I think
know.
it's a really high quality steel that also happens to be the flavor of the month. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's all hype. I think it's a high quality steel,
Right.
and I
Right.
think it's also very popular. I
Yeah.
know it can be hard to work with. It can warp. I think it can be difficult to heat treat and to grind for some
Mhm.
people until they get the hang of it. So I don't know.
So how far out is your bench in terms of collaborations?
Yeah, so let me think here. My focus had to shift a little bit. Like we've been working on these collab projects for a long time. I think we started these projects in 2023.
Hmm.
So they're like I said, these took longer to realize. And I have, these three. Well, I didn't want to like load the deck if these were not successful. So this is kind of what you see is what you get. I could have continued to push for more of these, but I also introduced the gateway, and the loudest reception of anything I've ever done is that. And
Right.
so that kind of flew to the top of the priority list, in all honesty, was expansion of the gateway line. And so there's only so much I can do, me and Donnie, just being two dudes.
Yeah.
Um, there,
This is the
there's,
gateway. Nick says for the Scuffle and for all of my designs, I do my own 3D CAD work and spec the dimensions and blade geometry I want in the file. When we switched to a hollow grind, the OEM kept the edge thickness. Oh, interesting.
Exactly. So that knife I should have mentioned that, Nick. It's not like it went from a wedge to a slicer.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
he
yeah,
had the same edge geometry. You just had it deeper up because it's a hollow grind. And more than anything, it just changed the way the swedge looked, really. Um,
yeah. It's so sharp. Is that Niche Designs? Matisfaction says designer of the Ahab. Excellent design there. Yes, it is. It is, and he's a cool guy. He's actually been on the Knife Junkie podcast. We should probably have him back on at some point to refresh everyone's memory. But as we were talking, you mentioned the gateway. This is one of my most carried in recent history. Something I love about this. There's a perception for me anyway that I can be a little freer and cooler with this because the materials are not as fine or expensive as the premium versions, but the fit and the finish is a little less. Obviously, it's a $75 knife as opposed to like a $300 plus dollar knife. So the finish is a little different, but the fit is all perfect, and everything about this knife is outstanding. So I feel like I can just drop it in your pocket, don't worry about it. And so consequently, it's one of my most carried slip joints ever since I got it. Um, and I actually don't really put it in a leather slip most of the time.
Good.
Uh,
I like to hear that.
yeah.
I, that the purpose of the gateway when we approach that, okay, the premium stuff was like, this is what I want. It costs what it costs. Like no expense spared. This is what I want. It costs what it costs to make. I put my margin on it. Dealer puts their margin on it, and that's what it costs. Okay. There's diminishing returns at that level of manufacturing. When you push everything to be as refined as possible, the bang for the buck goes down, but the quality goes up. This is how the anything works, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To get that extra 10%, you spend 30% more. That's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
Like you take your race car, you buy a $80,000 Corvette or something, and you have a quarter mile track time of X, and you want to increase and you want to beat that time, you might spend another $40,000 on that Corvette to
Yeah.
shave a few more tenths of a second off
Yeah.
because you're pushing for that peak performance, that peak quality.
Yeah.
With the Gateway series, it was like I'm aiming for where value and quality intersect, and I don't want to
Perfect.
push past that. You know, it's like we're going to have to make some sacrifices but we want to make the right sacrifices.
Yeah.
And we don't want to sacrifice core tenets like the fit and the finish primarily, you
Yeah.
know? And so that's what that project represents. And frankly, I'm glad for a couple reasons that I started with a upmarket product and then went down market's not the right
Yeah.
word, but you know what I mean,
Yep.
right? I started with a premium luxury product and then produced a more attainable product. Number one, because I think it's easier for people to accept that transition versus if you go the other way around,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
and then, but number two, because I learned so much about the premium product and what I think would be important in the attainable product. I don't
Yeah,
know if I would have got that right coming out of the gate, had I done it the other way.
that's interesting, and yeah, I think you're right about that. It's easier to swallow the way you did it than to do it the reverse. Also, like what's impressive to me is that, or something that was exciting to me is that when you got to the Gateway series, you were comfortable using natural materials like wood. I know in the beginning of the premium Jack Wolf knives, I was like, when are you going to bring bone? What about wood? And you're like, well, these are materials that are somewhat unpredictable, especially when they're being manufactured overseas and then being shipped and going through all these different humidity and temperature changes. Um, so by the time you got to this and also the Steel series with that beautiful yellow bone, which is in my drawer, I should have pulled that out. You were ready for that challenge, or at least had proven yourself on the premium line. So it trickled down nicely.
But yeah, and the fact of the matter is, there is more customer service associated with those natural materials.
Mhm.
Like, no matter what,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And so if we're going to have knives that will inherently have more customer service issues, it's better that I establish a what's the word I'm looking for? Reputation, excuse me, of
Mhm.
having good customer service. So it's like, if I'm going to take this risk, and inherently with this risk, there's going to be some customers who need to contact you for a remedy. It's like, make sure when they go search the internet to find out what you're like to contact, people have good things to say. Like, if you're willing to put a product out there that will inherently have some issues, like maybe that shouldn't be the first thing you put out there. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example of the bone. I got a call, email from a gentleman. He had a Blue Bone Gateway. When he bought it, he was stationed in Arizona, and then his family moved to Colorado, and then they relocated to Texas. That dude hit like three very different climates, right? And that bone moved all around on him, not to where it was egregious,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's like, man, I got to Texas and I look at this knife and I got like this gap. It's like, I understand, and I'll remedy it for you. Like, I've got some things I can offer you. I'm not just going to leave you high and dry, but it's like every time I put bone knives out there, I have to expect that something like that will happen. You know,
Hmm.
I wish it didn't. I'm just glad people will give me the opportunity to make it right. You know.
One of the besides every other reason, one of the reasons I love talking with you is that you kind of walk a tightrope between the idealism of a knife collector, because I know you have a wicked collection of high end slip joints, but also the concerns of a businessman running a business that you want to be successful, and that is successful. And it's always interesting to me to have that perspective, um, because you personally live both.
Yeah, like if all I wanted was to minimize, if all I cared about was the numbers, or let's just make it so we never have to hear from anyone in customer service, I would never do the natural materials. I just wouldn't do it. There's very little logical reason to do it.
Mhm.
But I know my guys want it. And I know I would want it if I was buying from me. And so
Yeah.
I can appreciate that, and I'm willing to essentially take the bigger burden of the additional service that's inevitably going to come from that stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, oh, well, the wood doesn't match good on either side. It's like, it's wood, like it's not my Carta, but I just want people to be happy, and I remedy people.
Doug Bull says, Bob, one of our guys retired. Doug is in law enforcement. That would be a great knife to give him. Is it possible to have his 3-number identification put on the shield? I think he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something we can do, but if you were to buy a knife with a shield, you might be able to go to like a trophy place or someplace that does engraving and have
Like
it
a things
laser engraved.
remembered kind of thing.
Yeah, just someone who has a laser, you might be able to do that. It's steel.
Yeah, it's steel. It's also a pretty nicely sized shield. This is also actually something I thought about recently. This is, I didn't even notice that it's a Barlow with a shield. Ordinarily, I'd be like, oh, a Barlow with a shield. It's too much. It's too busy because of that 1/3 size bolster. But it didn't even occur to me that I would have that opinion until recently, and I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, this is a Barlow with a shield. You don't see that often, and you pull it off beautifully on this. Can you stabilize bones so weather does not affect it? Asked James Hart.
I don't have access to that. Like, you can stabilize woods, you can probably stabilize bone.
It's porous.
But at the same time, that's just not how it's done. Like, the bone that I have access to is dyed bone, and it's porous, and it takes moisture, and it dries out, and it moves like natural materials do. So, and it's not like it's some massive problem. I don't want to overstate the problem. I'm just commenting that, as you mentioned, Bob, in the beginning, I was a little gun shy with it.
Yeah.
But once I got comfortable, here, I'm gonna use an analogy. In the beginning, we were nothing but a seed, and then we were like a little sapling. And that sapling can be destroyed. It's so delicate. It's not robust. It's very susceptible to anything that could harm it. Okay, well, a year goes by, and then another year goes by. Your little sapling's not a sapling anymore. Now it's got roots. Now it can weather a storm. Now it's got some bark, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, once you're established and you have a reputation and you're not so vulnerable, you can take some risks and weather some of the storm. Of course, you're not trying to create a storm, but inevitably, if you take risks and do things that can have consequences, there's going to be some rain.
Yeah.
And in order for your reputation to manage that, you have to have a reputation, and that's your roots.
Yeah. Who dares wins. Craig Vincent says, as I get older, I'm more aware of the need for things like bone stabilization.
Amen, Craig. Just keep them in one piece, man.
I want to talk about the Scuffle, the choil. Tell me about the choil.
Yeah, that's not a choil. It's a sharpening. Well, it's a sharpening notch. It's not a finger choil. It's a sharpening choil. Yeah, me and Nick, we had some conversations about that. And it's like, I think we debated at one point, do we open it up and make it a finger choil? And he's like, no.
Thank you for not doing that.
Yeah, he's like, no, it's not that. And I'm like, all right, I'm with you.
I'm not the hugest fan of finger choils. It depends, sometimes like on certain designs, but I like, as a rote thing, I'm so glad that's not what this is. And you can tell just from looking at the proportions of it that you're not supposed to stuff your finger in there. And like you said in the video you sent out to people that you sent this to, inevitably someone will put their finger in there and they will get bitten. But that's not what that's for, and you don't really need it for that. I mean, what are you doing? Are you doing heart surgery that you need to come that close? Is what I say anyway. Before I forget to ask, it's likely I would. When do these drop?
Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific.
Man, nice and chunky too.
It's wider than any knife we've ever done. We're typically 0.45, and I think this one's about 0.55.
Yeah, by chunky, I don't. That's actually,
it's less in fact, a normal Jack Wolf is kind of thinner. I would say this one is about which you would consider to be like, there's a knife in my hand. Like
Yeah,
my normal stuff is slender because it's designed to be more minimalistic. This is what I would consider not big, but not small, like
it's
right there in the middle.
it's kind of like standard modern folder width is how
Right.
is how it feels, and that's good because it's standard modern folder size. Like you want it like that in hand. It just it feels better in hand like that. All right, so this is
Yep.
coming out. This is coming out tomorrow.
Yep. You know, and something about that knife too, because of its dimensions, I try my handle material I buy in sheets. Well, we've standardized so I can buy one thickness of sheet, like 3.5 millimeter thickness carbon fiber, micarta. If it's something I'm buying off the shelf, I can buy 3/16. That's 0.1875. 3.5 millimeters is 0.140. Well, that knife couldn't use either. I had to buy 1/4 inch
Oh,
material for that knife. So like everything about that knife is more custom and more one-off and more kind of special than anything else we've ever done. Look at a detail I love on that knife is look at the pivot collar on the lock bar side. You can see that the collar is exposed.
oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay,
not 100% surrounded. It like peeks out at you. I thought that's just
right.
such a cool,
Yeah. Whoops, right
yeah,
there.
exactly. What a cool little detail on that thing.
So, what's your everyday carry? Is it this right now, or does it change?
I've been carrying that. I've been carrying two. I've been carrying that, and I've been carrying a canine. I haven't been able to kick the canine out of my pocket, man. I've been carrying it in like my little cargo pocket, and I got these leather slips from this dude in France with my logo on them. His
Oh,
nature and I don't know. You probably say it ACIER. Anybody who speak French, it means nature and steel. His name's Alex, and he's on Instagram. His stuff is so freaking cool, and he collects Jack Wolf, and he loves it. So he contacts me, just an aside story, and he wants to make slips for me, but he doesn't speak English really at all. So I had to get on the phone with him and his wife, and he's like, "My wife speaks English." Well, like sorta, you know. Yeah, I wouldn't say she
like
was.
we speak French?
Yes. And so, man, it took us quite some time. I'm drawing pictures and stuff. And anyway, but I love his work. And I said, whatever you do, it has to say made in France, or else I don't want it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
something
yeah,
you buy from Cartier or,
yeah,
it's like, it's
yeah.
got to say made in France. So I've been carrying one of his slips and my canine jack, and I've been rotating them. I've been carrying the rosewood one that was like a special run I took to the Netherlands and sold over there. Um,
What? Tell me about your Netherlands trip.
Oh yeah. Um, so we have a dealer in the Netherlands called Knives and Tools. Knives and Tools, think of them as like the Blade HQ of Europe.
Okay.
They're pretty good size. Like they have
Ooh,
110 employees or something like that. Yeah, there's Alex Slip. So his kind of trademark is that leather band of
right.
a complementary color. So we've got some fixed blade slips and some, he's got like distressed ones and kind of that Louis Vuitton print looking one.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
We got a lot of really cool leather products.
Yeah, Northwoods.
Those exotic slips are some of the nicest slips you will ever get your hands on in your entire life. They're unbelievable. Piper Robertson made those. They're suede lined.
Mm,
Not everybody wants to carry around elephant skin. I get it. But like if that doesn't make you upset and you really want to treat yourself to something
yeah,
nice, grab an elephant or an ostrich or a water buffalo slip because you won't be
yeah.
disappointed. Holy cow. So the Netherlands. So we have a dealer over there. They're called Knives and Tools. And for 5 years now, they've had a festival called Have a Knives Day. And it's grown in size and scale and scope. And they invited me to represent Jack Wolf there. They had, I don't know, a handful of US brands like Ben from NAFS goes, and he had like a funky knife they made out of like clog wood that they called the Niederlander.
Huh.
Yeah. Um, but so the deal was like, okay, I paid my way to get there, bought the flight, bought the hotel. They're like, you don't send inventory. Basically, you're just representing your brand and you're going to help us sell the Jack Wolf we have in stock. And, it's an expense for me. And I'm not getting any money back because I'm not selling any of my own stuff. But it's like, it's about supporting the people who support you. It's about
Yeah.
being a part of the community. That's like, we make money when we sell knives. That money gets reinvested in these types of things. So I didn't get to stay very long, unfortunately, because the following weekend I had to be in Columbus for the River's Edge thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I flew out on a Wednesday, landed in Amsterdam on a Thursday, and the minute we touched down, I didn't have to worry about anything. Like they picked us up from the airport and shuttled us 2 hours through traffic to their town, dropped us off at the hotel, picked us up in the morning, gave us a big tour of the facility, making sure we were always pumped full of espresso or water, whatever we needed. Like the hospitality was unbelievable, man. They had like a dude cooking burgers and steaks and appetizers outside for
Mm.
all day Friday. It was just the vendors. So I'm getting to know other vendors. I'm hanging out with Andrew Demko and his brother and his son. I'm hanging out with the guys from I think it's TRC. They're from
Oh yeah,
he's a fixed blade maker from
yeah,
Lithuania.
yeah,
Him and his wife. Like, when would I ever get to sit down and break bread with these guys? Like, it just
yeah,
doesn't happen. You
yeah.
at
Blade show,
Atlanta
you're
Blade
all
Show,
running around.
can't
Yeah,
talk to anybody in
yeah.
Atlanta. Um,
Hang on. Hold that thought. I want to get back to this, but Doug has a question about your knives.
yes,
Ben, do your knives operate more efficiently if oiled occasionally?
yes. Any mechanical object where metal touches metal, honestly. You can always over oil things, knives especially. You don't need to go crazy. But yes, I mean, the slip joints for sure, keep some oil in the joint. On the locking knives, a glob of oil on the detent ball, and it's probably okay to put a drop in the bearings, but I don't really think you need to, in all honesty. I think those work better plenty dry. Unless there's grit in there, then you want to get some lubrication in there.
Mike of Northern Knives says, Ben, you had to buy 1/4 inch plates by weight for those blades. That's crazy. That means you had to waste so much material to get the project done. Hats off to you, man.
Just so we're clear, I'm talking about like the micarta and the carbon fiber and the scale material. But yeah, there was, unfortunately, you're milling off more than you need to with that stuff. But we just do what we got to do to get it done.
Yeah.
Make a fancy set for bush heavy knives and call it Louis Vuitton. That's hilarious. I bet you'd sell a heckin' just a bunch of those. So long story short, Bob, the Netherlands, it was a great trip. I had such a great time.
So what's the I've been there a few times and I love it. Mostly Amsterdam and Bruges is in Belgium. Mostly in Amsterdam and loved it. But that was in my younger days. But what was the atmosphere there for knives? It sounds like pretty welcoming. I always think of Europe as a very restrictive place, especially for knives.
Yeah, country by country, it changes.
Mhm.
Germany has recently introduced more strict laws about what they can carry. I think Netherlands is one of the more um, less restricted locations.
Okay.
I don't know their laws. I know that slip joints are strong over there because just universally they're not perceived as weapons. They're just
Yeah.
not.
Right. Right.
So it's easy to justify those for guys. They can probably get away with, a lot of times the rules are like, well, you can carry this other type of knife if you have a good reason. It's like, well, boy, that's subjective.
Yes. Yes.
And I think for most people, like, they're not out looking for trouble, and so trouble doesn't find them.
Hmm.
If you're out looking for trouble, you're running around at night, you're half drunk, you're like loud and obnoxious, cop stops you, and there's a knife in your pocket. Well, guess what? Like,
Yeah.
you might get in trouble for that knife
Yep. Yep.
because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the
And,
wrong
and
thing
that's the same anywhere,
anywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you're just minding your own business, I think most places people kind of overblow that whole thing.
I remember a number of years back, Lansky, the sharpening company,
Hmm.
came out with a knife that they called the World Legal knife, and it was a slip joint. I think it was a Mikkel Williamson design. I think he's Dutch. Um, but their whole USP for that was like you can carry this anywhere in the world. Have a great night, Doug, and have a fantastic weekend. Always great to have you here with us. Yep, I'm off. Time to sleep, says James Hart. I hope to see you next week. Well, thank you so much, James. Always a pleasure, sir. You be safe, ride safe, sir. Yeah, that always kind of made me think, is there such thing as a world legal knife?
Who knows? And that could change in a day. So I'd be very careful calling
Yeah,
something that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like UK's knife laws are just becoming more and more strict. It seems like by the month. Um, so I don't know. I mean, we're really fortunate in the United States.
yeah,
Like we've got a lot more freedom for this type of stuff than most places can even comprehend,
yeah, yeah. I mean, for as much as people like to, you know, talk out of school about the United States, we have a lot more freedom in just about everything than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Chief among them, speech, man. But definitely with weapons and with tools that are perceived as weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they've got a strong knife collecting culture in Europe. I mean, look, these are knives. They've been around in every culture forever. Like we all know this collectively. Um, and it was just really nice to be able to go represent not just Jack Wolf Knives, but be an ambassador for America,
Hmm.
right? Because everybody's got their perceptions of America, just like we have our perceptions of Europe, and they're
Yep.
not always accurate.
Yeah.
So you're given an opportunity to be an ambassador for your country and your brand and you're part of this community. And I really was grateful for that.
Uh, I want to ask you about slip joints. Are there any slip joints that you haven't made that you're looking to make? And the reason I ask that is because you have peeled off, you've done some second runs of a lot of your popular designs, which are kind of all popular, but you've taken quite a foray into fixed blades and folding, locking, flipping. Are there any slip joints your roots, anything that you haven't, any patterns you haven't done that you want to come back to?
That's a good question. I've really, I've picked the low hanging fruit, I think. But there's some that if I don't do them at some point, I'll feel like I didn't finish the set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got to do a whaler or a elephant toe or sunfish at
Yeah.
some point.
Yes.
It probably better for the gateway line than for the premium stuff because like
A lot of
is someone
material.
going to buy a $300 whaler? Well, they're probably more apt to buy a $70 or $80 whaler
Yeah.
than a $300 whaler just because it's a little obscure, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but man, how do I not do one at some point? I really need to do one of those.
I
I
I
want to.
I couldn't agree with you more. Jacob Vargas wanted to know if there are any fixed blade knives that you want to make that you haven't,
Jacob, I love making and selling fixed blades. I love it. You know why? Because nothing goes wrong with those bad boys. They don't fold. There's no mechanism. There's no action. They're simple, but they're the timeless knife. Like I could tell. I'll say this right now. I hope I don't regret it. If I could just sell fixed blades and make my living selling fixed blades, it'd be a very compelling proposition
Yeah.
because they are easier to execute and just they're trouble free. I really like that, man. Like when you sit down and inspect several hundred modern folders and you feel the detents and how this one's softer than that one and this one's a little snappier than this one. It's like you make once you pull your hair out after a while, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is the centering just right? Like, oh, there's this little gap in this part here or this part here. There's so many places where there could be a little gap, like where 10 different features meet up. It's like, ah, but a fixed blade is the essence of a knife to me,
Yeah.
you know? And I love selling those things. I just do.
Hero Stick says, dude, and we've seen this in a couple of other comments. Dude, Jack Wolf, elephant toe, or sunfish, all yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
happen eventually. I'll do it. I just don't
They're
know when, but I'll
they're
do it.
very rare. I mean, like I have a couple, I have three, and they're all Rough Riders because at some point I had a bee in my bonnet for an elephant toenail. But it's really hard to find, any real I shouldn't say real. It's really hard to find like a GEC elephant toe or sunfish style knife, that you're not going to, put your child's education on the line for.
Yeah.
So yeah, elephant toe would be nice, says Mike. What did Byron have? Can you put? Victor Blade says, "Hey Ben, what about multi-bladed traditionals like a trapper or a stockman, for example? Does that interest you?"
It does. It does. I think it makes more sense for my gateway line because the premium stuff, at $300, you're going to drive the cost up with another heat treated blade and another spring. And it's just like,
Oh yeah,
man, we're pushing it there. Now, it could make sense in the Steel series, but I think it would make more sense in the Gateway series. And the Gateway is the more traditional product I make, and a two blade slip joint knife is pretty traditional. Like guys looking to buy those, some dude who's going to carry it around in his pocket, and especially if it's 14C28N, like you don't need two blades because one goes dull super fast.
right,
So,
right, right.
like it used to be, you had a multi-blade knife because you could go twice as long without sharpening the damn thing,
Yeah,
you know,
yep.
or one was a specific tool for a specific purpose. Um, so I think it would make sense in the Gateway series. Probably what I would do is like roll out single blade versions and then start adding the second implement as variants of those. Seems to make sense.
Mike says a knife maker better than me once told me a folder is like making 3 fixies. That's
I
funny.
believe it. They're substantially more complicated.
Ooh, this is a good one. Hero Stick says Ben would love to see I don't know what JE stands for, but a cotton sampler. I love those knives. Super unique blade profile. To me, they look like folding scalpels. If you've ever seen a scalpel close up, that's what cotton samplers look like to me. But they have that flat spot where I don't know, you do
That's
something
like
with.
a Ricasso kind of,
Yeah,
right? I mean, they're cool. I like them. It's some of them get a little obscure, and I worry about mass market success.
yeah.
Um,
Especially on the premium line, I would imagine.
Especially on the premium line. But I that's one of the things that drew me to the Gateway series was like at this price point, guys are it's easier to say yes at that price point. So now you have a little more flexibility to try things that would otherwise people would say no to if they were more expensive. We have a doctor's knife,
Yeah, I was
Craig. It's
gonna
the
say,
Feel Good.
Craig. Yeah, I love the Feel Good. The Feel Good's got such a great blade. Um, I get,
I really like that one, man.
I
That's a
carry that one a
sweet knife.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Strings
cool
says,
knife.
"What's up, Bob, Jim, and Ben? All you knife junkies. Happy Thursday night. Strings, always a pleasure, man. Um, the I always thought the doctor's knife was a cool knife. I love the story behind the two bladed doctor's knife. With the little paddle for stirring up your tinctures and the flat pommel for crushing up pills and stuff. You really get the Dr. Feelgood really captures the spirit of the doctor's knife in a single bladed knife, because in a sense that sheep's foot blade, which has a nice taper down to the ricasso, so it flares out towards the tip, has the spirit of the paddle part,
Hmm.
and I really love that. Yeah, that's a great knife. That's another prime. Another one primed for a redo, a second run. I know you must hear people's suggestions for redos all the time.
Yeah, and we got to balance it. Like if let's just say I have 12 releases in a year. Well, that's got to be some mix of locking knives, slip joint knives, fixed blade knives.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just say it's 4 4 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so if I'm gonna do 4 slip joint knives a year, like you don't want them all to be repeats, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, two of them new and two of them are repeats. It's only gonna be two repeats every year. It's like, it's kind of what it starts to look like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So repeats are harder to come across than you might think, given everything else that's going on.
Let me just since this has come up and uh, um, who's just saying that they have 10 doctor's knife. Let me grab my
Right
doctor's knife.
there.
Oh
I have
yeah,
10
Craig
doctors
Vincent.
knives.
Excuse me one second. I just have to show this off since
Yeah,
may as well.
grab the feel good.
Yeah.
Check my emails real quick, fellas. Sorry about that.
So check this out. So this is the doctor's knife. This is the field
Yeah.
in jack. And man alive, what a beauty this is.
And it's my interpretation of the doctor's knife.
Yep, you've got the totally flat pommel for crushing up the pills. You've got the knife for cutting the pills, and then you have the shape of that blade is perfect for stirring up your little concoction. The story behind the doctor's knife is back in the day, back in the early days of house calls. Yeah, house calls. A doctor would come and he would administer his remedy, and oftentimes that meant cutting up pills. So you would have a blade to cut the pills up, and then you would have a flat pommel, flat squared off pommel to crush up those pills into a powder. And then you would have a secondary implement, which was like a paddle to stir it up in the water.
Yeah,
You
or
were
like
making,
scoot the pills or the
yeah,
powder,
yeah.
like tongue depressor. You could use it for all kinds of stuff.
This I wouldn't use as a tongue depressor,
Yeah.
but pretty much like this, I feel like this captures the spirit of the doctor's knife. I love this knife. Probably, I was gonna say probably my most carried, but I say that about all the Jack Wolf knives. Oh, this is my favorite. This is a
That
great show, says Vargas.
It's an interesting. That knife is super cool because it's like slender. It's a great executive knife.
Yep.
Like it's a great, just if you had it tucked in your front pocket or something. Like, I don't know. I always saw that as being just a really cool, almost office knife, like a white collar knife is the
Yeah.
way that one feels to me.
It's got the CEO vibe with the
It
handle.
does. It does. And it's inspired by a doctor who's a professional. It's
Yeah.
just a professional knife is what it felt like to me. It's just very refined.
It's got such an incredible pull too. I love the stiff pulls on your knives. Mike says, Ben, how do you come up with model names? Feel good makes sense. Does it just come to you while designing?
Most of them pop into my head pretty easy without too much hassle because it's got a call to the knife for some reason. So like the dog leg, we call it a canine. The coffin handle, we call it a vampire. So it's just word association most of the time. And I just have fun with that. But every once in a while, there's one that'll just stump me, and it's hard to come up with something like the sod buster. I call the pioneer. Well, you can't call it a sod buster. That's trademark from
Yeah,
Case, but it's like
yeah,
you want to call it that. So it's like, do you change it up like the grass buster? Like,
yeah.
what do you do? Like they called it a bull, what is
Bull
G?
buster.
Yeah, or it's whatever
A bull
GC
nose. They
calls
call it a bull
bull
nose.
nose.
Yeah.
And so it's like that one was kind of tough. And so when I looked up what a sod buster was, they were these people who like went across the prairie to do some farming back in the pioneer days. So okay, we called it the Pioneer Jack. Like, sometimes they're a little harder than others. The gun stock, I call it a sharpshooter. The sway back, I called it the laid back. It sounded good, laid back jack, because sway back jack, and it's like the handle kind of lays back.
Yeah.
So they usually just come to me. The Tango, we had a hard time naming the Tango actually because we were originally going to call it the Mutt because Chris's um, character is a bulldog or a dog and mine's a wolf, and it was like, okay, like mix them together, they're a mutt. But then Devo, I think, came out with a knife, or
Oh,
Colin, I think, had a design called the Mutt. It was Colin, one of Colin's designs, and I was
yeah.
like, crap, man, like I can't do it now. And so
Tango
that
works
one,
well though.
yeah. And then I didn't realize this, but David C. Anderson's like, hey man, he's like, I got a knife called the Pocket Tango, don't you? I'm like, I really didn't know. I probably should have looked. He was just kind of ribbing me about it.
Yeah.
He's like, it's different enough.
Yeah. And at
I'm
a
like,
certain point, it's like, okay, we've been making knives for several 100,000 years at this point.
right. Yeah, it's like our knives are very different. I'm like, my bad, dude. I didn't notice. He didn't care, but it was just
Yeah.
funny.
No,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so we have fun with the names. We really do.
Well, Ben, I think we're coming up to it. I gotta be up in 5 hours. I think so does Jim. And we're going to have you back on the show, and we're going to talk about this in a more formalized way coming up here soon. So I think this is where we're gonna draw the line on this fine evening. But it's always awesome to have you. Always great to see you. And you're in a different room than we talk to you normally, so that's nice to see you.
Here, let me grab Louis real quick.
I love the painting behind you. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it was my grandparents.
Oh, nice.
Handed that down to us. This is Louis.
Hey, Louis, what's up, buddy? He's like,
Louis big, man. He's 21 pounds. Oscar's
yo.
15 pounds. But Louis like oversized. Come up here, Oscar. No, you gonna sit on my slippers?
Look at these guys.
Yeah, this is a great breed, man. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't know about having small like companion dogs like this, but my daughter kind of sold me on the idea. Boy, was she right, man. These
And they
guys are
don't shed, and
amazing.
they're hypoallergenic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dogs that'll make my eyes itch and make me sneeze, but not these things.
Yeah.
These guys are awesome, man.
Well, thanks for sharing them with us, and thanks for coming on and talking all about the Scuffle, which is dropping tomorrow. And thank you, Nick, for joining us. I hope you feel better real soon, and you're back on your feed right quick. But this thing is awesome. You guys have to check it out. Clark Henry says, good night, Louie. Good night, Clark. Have a good one. Byron, have a great evening, sir. And Adrian, thanks for another great show. Bob, Jim, and Ben, good night, guys. Good night, junkies. Have a great weekend. You have a great weekend, too. Jacob says, thanks, Ben. And,
thanks, fellas.
Thank you, one and all. Join us again. Make sure you check out the current show, LT Wright, but check out also James Williams on Sunday. We have an awesome conversation. That guy is floating above the earth on another level. Very interesting. For Jim, working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying until next time, and also for Ben, don't take dull for an answer.